Mac Jones, I don't know how much you can put on him here. I think he has his limits with his arm strength and his ability to push the ball down the field, Taylor, but I thought he played a pretty good game. He manipulated the pocket once again when he had to, made a couple of really money throws, great back foot one to Devontae Parker, made a couple nice throws to Juju, a horrible interception, but again, that happens too. We can talk about that, but I don't think this isn't, Mac's such an easy target here. I'm one of the first to say I think he has a ceiling that's going to cap how far you can go, but I just don't think you can do anything with an offense that has an offense. Because again, the offensive line was only missing one starter tonight. Okay, so it wasn't a wholesale everybody's out. That was Trent Brown, and that's a tough one to overcome. But there's no push at all. The running game after 2 weeks has been an absolute disaster. So if you can't run the ball and you don't have the weapons or the quarterback or whatever to push the ball downfield, you're really, really, really limited. They can just live in this intermediate zone. They had what would be categorized as 2 explosive plays all night. And those were runs. One was a Mac Jones run. One was a Ramondre. Almost Mac through 3 quarters had not completed a pass more than 10 yards down the field. You're living in a really small box there when you're trying to play offense here. So how concerned are you by what you've seen with what this offense is able to do so far?
Can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. Plus, all customers who bet $5 will get $100 off NFL Sunday Ticket from YouTube at YouTube TV.
I think the biggest takeaway, and this is one of those things where I wanted to see the on-field product before I made a big deal out of it, because I do think we're seeing O'Brien's scheme allows them to move the ball methodically. Like, we have not seen an offense where it's like 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out. This offense the past 2 weeks has been putting drives together, but then it becomes
a couple of good ones.
The margin for error is so small. One, because of pass protection and run blocking. The offensive line, because of injuries, mostly because of injuries, like Cole Strange did not look good. From the things you could tell from the live part of today's game, Mike Onwenu had to sub out for Antonio Mafi for I think a lot of the second half.
We think Calvin that was fitness related, or just he wasn't playing well.
I really don't know. I don't think you put Antonio Mafi in for Mike Onwenu because Mike Onwenu's not playing well. Like, I think that was probably more just physical limitations. Then Calvin Anderson, where I thought he was better off at the left tackle spot because that's where he's been for a lot of his career. So I don't know how much that's factored in. And he missed all of summer, but he was beaten several times as well. So the offensive line is already setting you back. For any offense, that's going to make things harder. And then that's capitalized by the fact that Devontae Parker gets bodied out by Xavier Howard on what was not a good throw from Mac, to be fair. But at the same time, you want Devontae Mac.
Yeah,
exactly. And then Devontae Parker. There were a lot of 50-50s. They were like, the pass wasn't great from Mac, but also like Kendrick Bourne wants to be this big play guy, and that's what he's shown flashes of. And he can't make those tough grabs where guys are really close and he gets a shot downfield. And that's been the case the past 2 weeks.
It was actually the deep ball was actually a very good ball by Mac to Kendrick Bourne in the first half.
The first one.
And he only gets a left hand on it. And that was almost like a goofy looking attempt at someone. I thought for a second maybe his right arm was being held back a little, and it wasn't. It was just a bad attempt at that ball. That's got to be right there for Kendrick, for KB, and he doesn't make that play.
Yeah, so it's just you don't have the big play threat who you can consistently rely on. Now, I think that Devontae Parker can be that most weeks. I don't like when Mac targets Devontae Parker when he's matched up against like really legitimate.
Yeah, don't throw 50-50 balls against good corners. Right.
Like, I'm cool with it against 90% of players. Like, Devontae Parker can make a living because he's very good at that. But Xavier Howard gets the money he gets because he doesn't allow those. That's where I'm like, hey man, you got to pick your spots.
For a 50-50 ball receiver like that Devontae Parker is, when you're playing against a corner like that, the other 50 sometimes results in interceptions, not incompletions. The risk reward is simply not there, and that was just a very ill-advised throw.
Especially in that spot, you're in scoring territory. Yeah, like that's a huge difference maker. If they even just get a field goal there, it changes the complexion of the game. But yeah, I just think the margin for error is slim because one, who knows how long it's going to be until their offensive line is in a spot where you're like, yeah, they're cohesive, they can run the ball effectively.
If they are, we don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying. So like, even if that even happens, then it's okay. Well, are your playmakers going to make plays? I think the tight ends do a good job of that. Every time you throw the tight end, something good happened. But your receivers,
stay on the O-line 1 second. Okay, because I do want to ask you. At best, entering the year, okay, at best, you had 4 people you thought you could call starters. Trent Brown absolutely has been effective when he's been asked to play, but there's health issues and this and that. He's been more comfortable on the right than the left, but whatever. That's one. David Andrews is David Andrews, solid pro. You know what you have there. And Onwenu's coming off a terrific year, slotting back into his guard position, which he's best suited to play. We don't know if Cole Strange is a plus offensive NFL lineman yet. We don't have any idea. He might not be. He was thrust into the starting lineup last year and got benched several times for performance issues. We don't know who he is yet. He might be good. We don't know who he is yet. So
I will say though, tonight I don't think was
3.5 feel good about, and still a hole. So I don't know that you ever get to a point that it's anything better than serviceable, but it's also potentially horrible like it's been, in the sense that there's just not enough there. Even though Mac didn't get sacked, he was pressured on 1/3 of his throws by the Eagles, who didn't really blitz much last week. And then, they had a bunch of coverage breakdowns today, and they can't run the ball at all right now. So you're getting nothing out of this offensive line. Maybe it gets there, but do you really think that they can turn it around to the point that this is a good unit?
I do think that when healthy, they can be. Now, I think it's very important to remember that, okay, so Trent Brown, he didn't look good run blocking last week, but he gets paid for pass protection. Cole Strange, I think, is good. The things that he was having lapses with tonight were not things that I saw last year as big issues. I think it's fair to assume that he's going to take a step once he's healthy. David Andrews. Mike Nwonu was one of the best players at his position. I think he just needs to get healthy and be someone who you can rely on to, be there every week. Right tackle, it's still going to be a question mark, but I don't think that either one of these games have come down to Calvin Anderson. It's been the interior is giving up pressure so fast that Matt can't do anything. Like, you can Badarian Lowe told me, they preach in New England, protect inside out, because even if you give up pressure outside, Matt can step up. Like, he's not one of those guys who's going to scramble, but he maneuvers the pocket very well, and we saw that tonight. So I do think if this offensive line is better, your margin for error is higher, because, players still need to make plays. But we saw that Mac Jones, his past 2 fourth quarters, he's been outstanding. Like, he's making all the throws that he needs to make. It hasn't necessarily been perfect. Like, last
much better than last year.
Sideline throw to Kayshon Boutte, that one he kind of double clutched, but he's throwing it and delivering catchable balls, and guys aren't helping him out. And that's maybe the most frustrating part, but also why I say this season isn't like other seasons, because Mac's rookie year, he was a lot of the reason that they weren't doing well as turnovers. Like, there were also times where they just gave the ball away in horrible situations. Last year was coaching, where they got behind the 8 ball because they were just terribly led and guys were just trying to survive out there. This year, the offensive coordinator, I thought there were a couple iffy calls, but again, that's the margin for error, where no offensive coordinator is perfect, no quarterback is perfect. But those 2 positions have been keeping you in these games and putting you in position to win them. Now it's okay. This is where, I don't like to be the weapons guy, because I think if you've got a lot of veterans who are proven and reliable, you're fine. And for the most part, I think they have that. But now we're starting to see, that lack of a true consistent, like a T. Higgins, a Tyreek Hill, not having those types of guys. I don't it's too early for me to say that's going to tank their season, because again, we don't know what they look like with a healthy line, but that stood out a couple of times where you're like, damn, man, it would be nice if they had one guy who could flip the field really quickly or have a big play where they don't necessarily need to keep putting these long drives together. And I mean, again, they bite themselves in the foot because they have mistakes, they have negative plays, and they just can't have those. Other offenses have those and they can make up for it. They can't make up for the negative plays.
Ever wish you could navigate the betting field with the confidence of a pro? Enter Odds Are. They're not a sports book, but they're the sports betting advisor you've always needed. It's like having a playbook for smarter bets right in your pocket. I've been absolutely loving the experience, and I think you will too. Especially since Patriots Press Pass listeners get a 30-day free trial. Elevate your game day and join the smart betting revolution. Go get it at oddsr.com/presspass. That's oddsr.com/presspass.